trying to remove the water. We want to cut this into little portions. There's two sides of every fillet of halibut. You've got the side right here that is the closest to the skin side. You can see the grains on it. And then you got the side that's closest to the bone side. You can see the difference, right? Kind of see where all those bone lines were when they cut it off. All right, now this side here, you always want to kind of feel to make sure that when they cut it off of the fish with their knife and their boning knife, they go right down the bone line. Every once in a while, their sharp knives cut right through a bone. So you just want to kind of feel right here, make sure none of those bones are still attached. And if they are, just take your knife and just gently cut it out just underneath it. And they won't pull out like a salmon. If you try to pull it, you'll just tear the fish. So you just want to kind of cut underneath it, just slightly. You know, you can kind of pick it up a little bit and just use your knife and just slide it right under. This one's clean. I would say 99% of them, they're fine, but every once in a while, and I never used to say this in the demo until I pulled out a piece one time and I felt it and I'm like, uh-oh. I didn't have the right knife down here. I had to go downstairs to get the knife that I needed and right during the demo. So, all right, so I'm gonna cut some fillets off. I'm going to tonight use this thin side for sushi night tomorrow. So I'm gonna cut that off and put it on my sheet pan here for later. Then we're gonna take this nice fat side here and use those for the demonstration. So I'm gonna cut my portions out. I've got my towels right here. The sauce that we're gonna make tonight is a butter sauce, and we're gonna flavor it with capers, lemon, and a little fresh thyme and garlic. So those are our aromatics. And then we have white wine, heavy cream, and butter here, whole butter, unsalted. So I'm gonna take the halibut on the side that the bones are on. If you sear that side, it doesn't look as pretty as if you sear the side that the skin was on, because you see all the grains in the sear, and on the other side, you just get kind of like a tic-tac-toe board, you know, when you sear it. So I like to sear the side, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the side I'm searing up. And then take some paper towels, dry that up. Again, if you're gonna serve this later, you can get your portions all cut ahead of time, put on paper towels, and stick it right in your refrigerator like this. And then when your guests come over, you bring this out, your pan's hot, have your ingredients out, and you can show them how good of a cook you are with your pan sauce. Tonight we're gonna sear the halibut in the pan only on one side. We're gonna flip it out onto this sheet pan, and we're gonna finish it off in my grill oven back here. So I do the blackened taco demo on the same night as I do the halibut, because I put that little cast iron pan in there, and it gets nice and toasty, and it keeps a nice even heat, so I can use that grill as a nice oven. So. My pan's hot behind me, as you can see. Turn my board off. And so we're gonna season up this fish that we dried. A little salt and pepper. We're gonna go high above the fish, not clumping like this. And just kind of let the salt fall. Windshield wipers. Okay, a little black pepper. Alright, so again, I got my oil, same thing, canola, olive oil blend, 75% canola oil, 25% extra virgin olive oil. My pan's smoking, it's nice and hot. Let me give it a couple go arounds with the oil. We got some oil in there. We're gonna bring our oil up to temp. We're gonna get the nice sear on the halibut, and then when the halibut comes off, put it on here, put this in the oven, and then we'll deglaze, or we'll saute up our garlic and our capers together. Then we'll deglaze with the white wine. So oil's hot. We're gonna start with our thickest piece of halibut here. We'll let that pan kind of go down and bring back up in temperature again. And we'll start our next one. The next thickest piece. And we'll let that oil come back up to temp again. Put this guy in. Now those thick pieces are going to cook a little different than the small pieces. When we're doing this, like upstairs for you guys, 26 people at a time, and when we cut our fish out, we use these smaller sheet pans, and as we sear our fish, I put my fat pieces on one and my skinny pieces on another. So I'll fire them both at the same time, and as I'm plating, the first ones that get plated are the skinnier pieces. Now they're no way less when we cut them for you guys. They weigh the same, so they might be bigger. But all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this other piece in there. But then that lets me stagger then I pull the fish out, and as I'm plating, the other one's finishing up. I get the first 13 plates plated up. I can go back in the oven up. One more minute is all those ones needed. I pulled them out, and then I can finish plating up the rest. But that staggered pulling out of the oven helps with halibut. So capers, the garlic are gonna go in first, and then we'll do the white wine after that. A little thyme as well. All right, fish fat is over here. Take this guy off from the blackening seasoning. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and peek at this guy. And a nice sear on that. We'll go ahead and set it right here. Right here. Nice sear. Completely raw in the middle or on the bottom. It's cold, still intact. So what we'll do here is we'll fire it all, but I'll pull this one a little early. All right, so we've got a hot pan here. I'm not gonna fire these quite yet because they're gonna go a little quicker than what we have. So we're gonna start by putting some capers in this pan. Let them toast up in that oil. Once the liquid in that capers evaporate, I'm gonna add this garlic and sweat it out in the remaining oil there. But I didn't want the pan to be too hot or burn my garlic. And I just want to kind of sweat the garlic up a little bit. So maybe a teaspoon of garlic, depending how much you like garlic. Get that kind of going, sweat it up. Looking for that garlic to kind of become translucent a little bit. Not really have any color anymore. And we're going to add a little light on oil, so we can add a little oil real quick. That drip in there. Alright. I'm going to put some thyme in there. Let that crack in there. And then we're going to deglaze with white wine. So when we deglaze, what we're looking for in this is we want it to be offset. Offset means until dry. It's a French term, culinary term. So we're going to cook the white wine down until dry. And then once the white wine is cooked down, then I have a little bit of heavy cream. We're going to put that in there, and then we're going to reduce the heavy cream until we see bubbles on bubbles. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about in a second. So it's still rolling from one side of the pan to the other real quickly like that. So I know that there's still a little liquid in there. I'm going to pull that down. If I were to omit the heavy cream and just do a straight beurre blanc, this is where I would add my butter in and just whisk. Whisk like a madman and don't let it break. And then I turn my heat off at the same time. But we're going to show you the heavy cream method because it doesn't break on you as easy. So it's more bulletproof for a home cook. So I'm going to add some heavy cream. I'm going to take it away from the heat to just let it cool off, not continue to burn. I don't want to scorch my cream. So I'm going to add a little heavy cream on there. And I'm going to push that in, whisk it together, or spoon it together here. So I'm gonna let this guy cook for just a minute, and it's already starting to bubble on the outside. We're gonna want it all bubbly and then bubbles on bubbles, it'll build up. So basically what we're doing is reducing the cream by half. And when you do such a small amount of cream, what I look for is I know when it reduces by half for bubbles on bubbles. So now we're getting there. On the edges of the pan there's bubbles on bubbles, but not in the center yet. You see it? I can't take it away from the heat right now to show you, but almost there in the center, and we're close enough. So now I'm going to get ready for the butter, but first I want to zest just a little bit of lemon zest in here to get that oily flavor from the skin. Most of the flavor from the lemon comes from the skin. Now right between the skin and the fruit is the pith, and the pith is bitter. So you don't want to over zest. You won't want to do the same spot more than once. You just want that outside bright yellow part of the lemon. All right, so the lemon's in there. You cut that, get that ready to cool it down. That pan down with the lemon juice. And I'm going to start adding in some butter. Oh, halibut. Halibut needs to go in. All right, halibut's in the oven. So I'm going to turn this heat down just a touch, and I'm going to start adding butter into it. See how much it'll take. Alright, so then if you have a whisk, you could use a whisk, you can use a spoon here. Just kind of melting that butter in there. You don't want to get it, you don't want this burner on high anymore. You want to turn the, once you add that butter in, you don't want it on high. You can beat on high when you add the butter to it, but then just turn it down so that once the butter goes in, it's not going to break the butter. A little bit more butter in there. Mixing that in. The pan sauce is just about complete though. Ooh, smells good. Alright, so I'm going to take a little lemon juice now. I'm going to finish this sauce off with a little lemon juice. Put that in. And pour. Mix it. Make sure the salt's there. Perfect. Alright, so I'm going to turn the heat off because the sauce is finished. If you want to, I would not leave this sauce on until your friends come over. Now, this is a sauce that you have to cook all in minute. If you try to reheat this sauce, it'll be two sauces in the same pan. It'll break. But it'll hold really well just like this. I mean, you can reheat it from room temp. You can't chill it. So, and you can't reheat it on high. You need to reheat it on super low and keep on stirring it. And if it does break, you can fix it by just taking a little splash of water and hit the splash of water in it, and then whisk it together real quick, and it'll pull back together. I'm going to check that small piece of halibut right now. So I still need more time. My oven's set at 400 degrees. I should have fired this halibut probably at the time when I put when I put the wine into the pan. Just spaced it. So, any questions right now while we're waiting for the halibut to finish? No? Halibut's a super dry fish if you overcook it. So the sauces that you put with halibut a lot of times are very fatty. We like fatty sauces with our halibut to make up for the leanness of the halibut. But overcooking it is the worst. Is the worst for halibut. So undercook it, if anything. Don't overcook it. Starting to sizzle here. Nice. It's getting there, but not quite done yet. When I push on it, it still looks translucent in the middle, and when I push on it, it has no give yet. It's still fish gets more fragile as it cooks, and it's sturdier when it's raw. This little guy's done. Little guy here. Good. Let that guy rest for a second. Get my sauce to stir again. It's in a hot pan, I don't want it to break, so I'm going to keep stirring it a little bit, even though I turn the heat off. Leave it on the burner, it will break. So just a low heat is fine. This doesn't really have a low setting, it's medium only. So. And it's about another minute probably on those. And in the meantime, I'll get these set up for you. Really quiet. Sure you guys don't have any questions?
The routine you did yesterday, is there any reason why you can't do the halibut the same exact way?
No, you can do the halibut the same exact way. You can finish this. The only reason why I'm not doing it that way is because I wanted to show you a pan sauce. If you arrose it, you can't do a pan sauce in that pan. You'd have to do pan sauce in another pan.
I just curious if there's any difference if you treat them.
No, you could do a halibut if you had a sauce on the side and you already had. If you made your sauce in a different pan, you could arrose your halibut, and that's how we do it upstairs. We arrose all of our seafood that you eat, except tonight the black cod is not arrose because it has a sauce that or a marinade that we use, a miso marinade that has mirin in it, which contains sugar, and if you have sugar in a high heat, you know, it burns. So so these guys are good. Pull this pan out so my paper doesn't catch on fire. Ooh. Let them rest for just a second. Let me put some sauce on these guys, and who up front can come up and try it. Of course, it's cold. So you notice I didn't add any salt to the sauce because the capers are full of salt, and the salt level was fine when I tasted it.